All right, guys, here we're going to talk about Walking Dead, episode 12, season 8. What do you think about this?
I didn't hate this episode. I hated parts of it.
The only things I ever really hate in Walking Dead are either the fact that we treat zombies like they're either the most dangerous thing in the world or they're not dangerous at all, and people making dumb mistakes.
So that was
and this has that.
When I say I didn't hate this episode, like I hated.
Did you mean you hated the episode?
I hated this episode tremendously, but like at the end of it, I was just like, all right, we had like there were episodes in the past that like more like when this episode ended, I was like, okay, like I can't wait to see what happens from here. As opposed to other ones that have ended where I'm like, why does this show keep doing this, right? But in the middle here, right, there was a bunch of shit that made me go like, oh god. Do you want to just dive into it?
I would like to start with with Rick.
Great.
So we see Rick is off the compound. He's in a car and he's waiting. I think he's supposed to be like radioing ahead to let them know like when the convoy is coming.
Yeah, he said he was gonna go out and like I'm going out too. We're gonna do the thing or whatever. And you see his hand like over he's supposed to like honk or something. I don't know, to signal the next person or something like that.
But instead he's like, you know what? I'm going to be stupid.
He fucking goes rogue.
He drives his car like right into Negan.
I know.
And just by the luck of like, the plot, we have our car of leaders here that is like, you know what? I'm secretly wanting to kill Negan. The other guy's like, I'm publicly wanting to take over. And the whole crew doesn't just come and murder Rick outright directly there. And then we continue this.
Which Rick had no way of knowing.
No, of course not.
Caring about. Just wanted to ram Negan's car because he thought maybe I can kill Negan like right now.
He's got nothing to live for except for his daughter, who's a baby.
Who we just saw in the previous shot. Yeah. I know.
And his girlfriend who is at home.
And an entire community of people that he's trying to build. But
Rick goes on a tear to do the dumbest shit possible, like in a row.
It was pretty good.
So we flip forward to he's like chasing, and he's finally.
Real quick, I want to highlight an actual good thing. Either I blacked out briefly, which is totally possible, or they like artistically cut to like Negan after the off-camera car accident. Okay, so. I like that. I liked not, being, sort of feeling what it would feel like for Negan to wake up after being knocked out after because, for a minute I was like, oh, this is great. Rick used to be a cop. He knows how to fucking with the car and take someone out or whatever, right? But then they didn't show it.
Then you see Rick hit a pole, and he's dead too.
Rick hit a fucking pole, but Negan woke up. So I liked that, and it gave me some hope for what was to come.
So hope dashed right here.
Dashed immediately.
So you have
almost
your
immediately.
First ability for something weird and cool to happen. Negan, who was planning on this biological warfare thing, has Lucille, his bat, in a bucket of bile and guts and shit full of blood from zombies that he's planning on infecting others. So he's now crashed and flipped that blood's everywhere.
Yes.
Now one might acquire a small nick and or scrape if their car were to, say, flip.
Impossible.
In a tiny bumper-to-bumper collision, you may hit your head and get a cut or a split lip.
Sometimes just changing the radio station, I've injured myself.
Negan, his car flips through an attack, an assault by another vehicle, blood spread everywhere. Yeah. None of his. He's not cut. It doesn't go into his mouth or eyes.
He gets T-boned, and then he gets run off the road, and his car at the very least tips over on the side. I had the same thought when he's waking up there. My first thought was, oh, he had that bucket of blood. Oh, this is going to be a thing. And
I was like, oh, are we doing a 2-day countdown on when Negan's going to turn?
Maybe it'll be a thing later. Maybe
I don't think so. We're not that lucky for a good thing to happen in this story. So let's move on to the next dumb thing that Rick is involved in. So Rick then goes, you know what? I've got this AK-47 here. Let me just unload it from a distance, wildly. Let me expend all of my bullets.
Yep.
All right. I now have to reload just as Negan runs into a building. So you're now shooting again wildly, and you lose all your bullets. Let me throw the gun away, because that's not a close combat weapon if needed.
Well, he has his hatchet.
He has his hatchet, and he has his revolver. He then fires every shot of his revolver, missing all those shots. So had we just, instead of firing wildly, which like Negan's just waking up, but the bullets alert him to run. If you would have just crept up on him plugged him, you would have won right there.
Yep.
But we didn't do that. We fire sporadically and wildly while running. We don't pause, take a breath, and shoot. We now have used all of our revolver shots. The revolver useless. He pulls out his hatchet. His hatchet, while he is at the bottom of the stairs, Anakin has the, doesn't have the high ground.
I have the high ground.
And then what does he do? He tomahawks that thing, throws his only weapon, misses, lucks out, though, that Negan, like, fumbles and the railing is made of garbage and he falls. Think about that logically, though. If you threw it and missed, now he has a bat and you have nothing.
Well, potentially he has a bat and a hatchet because, like, the hatchet embeds in the wall,
which
is lucky anyway. You would have assumed it would have clattered to the ground. He would have been like, Rick, are you some kind of idiot? And just, like picked up both or whatever the fuck. No, there was so much luck going on when he runs out of bullets just in time. Like, he runs out of bullets, and like Negan,
twice,
like Negan, the unstoppable, leader of the, evilest empire ever, and he's the most evil and calculated, and he's manipulative, and he has an empire, and he's evil, and he's whatever. His plan was to like shove him and run up the stairs in like full view, and he's just like click, click, click. Oh, like he would have been dead if he'd have saved one shot. If he would have counted and not shot one shot and run in there, he would have just been dead like immediately. It made me sick. I hated this episode.
And then I grow to hate more. So Negan falls. He's hanging by his fingers.
He's hanging.
Rick swings the hatchet. Negan falls easily 20 feet to the ground.
Potentially one flight of stairs.
I think he goes through another thing.
Yeah.
So that alone, I'm like, well, that's a crippling injury. You could be dead from that. People have fallen a foot and died. But Negan's fine. But then we get the plot hurting us again, having a good story, where he's obsessed with the goddamn bat.
Okay.
I need the bat. I need the bat.
So you've read some of the comic, but you didn't get up to the Negan part.
Never got up to Negan. No.
Okay. I'm assuming that this has to be part of the comic book Negan.
Has to be.
That doesn't translate to like live action, or shouldn't maybe even be on the page of the comic book, because it's really weird. His like hard on for Lucille is like to a strange degree. That's what like pushes him to like overcome, right? Because it's happened in like several Rick on Negan fights where he's like, "Get your hands off her," and like pushes,
"Don't you touch her!"
and goes crazy and stuff like that. I don't like that. That doesn't make sense.
It's dumb.
He's not that well, that's his one thing that he's irrational about.
And then like it's what is that thing? I was gonna make a Harry Potter reference, but I don't know Harry Potter enough. Like Lucille is his like Horcrux or whatever the hell it's called.
It's his Patronus.
He's like burning it. He's like, oh, you couldn't even save Lucille. Oh.
So that I didn't hate was that Rick is like just talking shit or whatever. So there's this whole thing back and forth. Like Negan's kind of like, I'll make you an even sweeter deal. You have to do janitorial duty, but your people be living high on the 75% hog and all that stuff. He's doing all these things, and then Rick's like, and then I kind of even like how it comes into play, where he's like, "Oh, you're gonna, just like the Junkrats, you're gonna is that how you save people and all that stuff?" And he goes, "Ah, son of a bitch, like Simon, you fuck or whatever, right?" That's the whole thing or whatever. And I like the whole like, you couldn't save me, you couldn't save anybody.
No, wait. I took that differently. Was he talking about the Junkrats? I thought he was talking about the Oceanside people. I thought he said something about slaughtering all the men.
I thought it was the Junkrats, and that's why...
Could have been. It applies in both scenarios, but when he said son of a bitch, I was like, oh, he knows they're alive or whatever, but I guess it was that he knows that they're dead.
No, yeah, I thought it was because in the recap, they show that happening again, and they show Simon being like, "Nope, standard operating procedure, message delivered, boss, that's all good." And then he's like, "Huh, okay." And then, like, I don't know.
I could have sworn he said something about killing men and children, and that's why it threw me.
Yeah,
I don't think the Junkrats had any children.
Well, they're just shorter Junkrats.
And it wasn't just men. He killed the women, too.
I don't know. I didn't hear him say men. I was pretty sure
I might have added that
in
my brain, but I remembered it as something. Regardless, it works in either direction.
But I like that. I like that catching up with him at that bad time, because this whole thing has happened multiple times. Where like Negan's like, "Okay, listen, I didn't know about that. It's not where I'm going with this or whatever."
Yeah.
Which is honestly making him suck.
Yes.
I really kind of just wanted him to have a very clear vision and follow through with it.
But he sucks anyway. He picks up a pipe, a weapon, and he goes, "It's not Lucille," throws it away. That's dumb. The character's not a like survivor at that point. He's an idiot.
He's not that irrational or
no.
whatever. Well, I just meant like overall.
No, I get what you're saying. Where it's like I didn't know Carl was dead.
But like Dwight's fucking with him. Eugene's fucking with him. That other wife was fucking with him. They were like about to kill him, and luckily Eugene like pussied out. Yeah. And now Carl was fucking with him. Everyone's been fucking with him for so long that when he struts out and goes, well, what are we? I'm like, I don't know. Obviously, someone has tricked you again because you're so bad at this or whatever.
Yeah.
How are you the king of like the worst people ever?
But he's the king by being the worst person ever. Like it's through fear. It's not through respect.
Well, like, what are you afraid of? Everyone has this ability,
Your face
seemingly,
being
to like, yes, but everyone seems to have the ability to get one over on him now. Simon just lied to his face.
Yeah.
Maybe now everything's falling apart, and that's the point of it. But
it is.
I don't know.
He's not been smart as of late, and Simon's getting that where you're trying too hard to have everything when you're going to lose everything.
Yeah.
And Simon realizes that, and I love that.
You're on Team Simon.
No. Well, Simon is correct in what he's doing.
Right?
But I love how it was misperceived moving on as he thought, like, moving on, we'll leave and we'll go somewhere else. But he meant moving on, like, we have to just kill these motherfuckers.
No, yeah. That's kind of jumping ahead, but yeah, with the Dwight and Simon
just to jump into the right. So we now further ahead.
Well, so he lights the bat on fire. He's like hitting zombies. They're lighting on fire
because they're flammable.
Like, is everything covered in gasoline? In here, what's going on?
They have a lot of lint.
A lot of.
But there's so many zombies all around them, and there's like no concern at all.
I know.
Like earlier in the season or last season, a fucking tiger gets killed by fucking zombies.
Yep.
Zombies are a force to be reckoned with only when the plot demands it.
And it's really getting
that's
bad.
So annoying. In
really
this room,
bad.
they were in close combat. With like 30 zombies. They're just like.
And like both people had just been in various levels of car accident
and dropped 20 feet to their death.
Fell down a fucking thing. Okay, it's like dark, but then there's a fiery thing, right? You're like vision. You're like disoriented. It's bright. It's dark.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell what's going on. Zombies are naturally like quiet and are like in unexpected places or whatever, right? Not an issue at all. Zero issue. Right? I really wish the show would be both consistent and honestly, like it's ostensibly about zombies. I would like the fact that zombies are here to be a problem, right?
Yeah.
We had to leave the flaming gazebo because there were zombies there, right? Why wasn't it just like, oh, we're main characters, let's just kill these like 30 zombies?
They didn't know they were main characters.
We forgot that we were
Did
main
he
characters.
put something on the bat? How did the bat light on fire in the first place?
I think he was pouring something or
was
something.
Was he? Where did
like
he get that? I must have just blinked and missed that because I was like, wait a minute. Bats on their own, you could hold a lighter under a bat forever.
Yes.
It wouldn't light up. Then if you dumped blood all over a bat, I think it would be even less likely to light on fire.
I know. Well, and then he like he doesn't hit. I think he hits Negan with it, right?
I think he misses.
And my first thought was, you're infected now. But then it was like, well, I guess they're going to say like the fire got rid of the blood or something.
I don't think he ever made contact with the bat. I think he always missed.
Everyone always missed both times, yeah.
Because they were all those large sweeping strikes, like end blow type games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, tackled through doors, did all that bullshit, and then he gets away.
Just so many zombies. Yeah. And then like Rick sees that Negan went out the window. He's like, the window, and like slowly makes his way for the window. Zombies just like, he's getting away. Like nothing. Like there's no lurching, no grabbing, nothing.
Yeah. No. When I think back, so like I don't know. Like the show. Am I wrong? Right? You've been saying it.
There was a time when zombies like grabbed you and it was a death grip and like you couldn't get them off unless they were shot in the head. Like
and like you would.
They are older than they've ever been, presumably. Assuming these that's the thing with zombies.
They are slowly decaying.
They are, but you don't know at what point things were infected.
Individuals.
Like, yes.
Yeah.
So you can't make that assumption blanketly.
Because like when I think about all that, right? People have died. Like he was tied up or something, but like Glenn was in a room with one zombie, and it was like a super tense moment. Like
he didn't just dance around it.
No, and like he didn't just like shove it with his foot and be like, "This is annoying, guys," right? And you would think, right? Like you can't just like shove a zombie out of the way. It's all moving weird, and it's got pointy bits, and it's all this dangerous thing with teeth and nails and blood everywhere. Like it's a hazardous thing. thing, right? You can't just
100%.
right. It's like a bobcat. You can't just like shove it out of the way or something like that, and it desperately wants to eat you and all that business.
Yeah.
Andrea was like walking through the woods, and they were just slowly like inching up, but she's stumbling and running all night and all that stuff. There are all these tense moments with just like a handful of zombies. Carl's own death was like, what was that, like 10 or less or something like that? They like ran into randomly. Zombies should still be dangerous.
And they were out in the wide open.
Yeah, with full
Not
visibility,
dark.
middle of the day.
Yeah,
I know.
There's no logical anything. The progression even is ridiculous because they're killing people occasionally.
And like Gabe and Negan made it back into the compound surrounded by like 100 zombies. Yeah. And now this shit happens here. Yeah, I hate this. Thank you. Okay.
Now it's a little annoying because it's just you're either beating us to death with like, oh, we should be afraid, or it's like, well, why would you ever be afraid? You can't have it both ways. If you're ever afraid, you should be afraid now. And if you're not afraid, this isn't a big deal.
Yeah. Because, like, honestly, of all the things, this is maybe Gabe and Negan's a little worse, but they were just, like, bum-rushing past something. Here, it was like, we're fighting and there's zombies, but we're just like, ugh, get out of the way.
It was like an 80s movie where one zombie at a time was coming at them. I'm like, what?
Why would they do that?
It wouldn't. What else happened? This distract me from this moment.
Well, so to zoom out slightly, while this is all happening, some of that stuff you mentioned with Simon and Dwight. I like the badass like cigarette throw into like the thing or whatever.
I liked it, but I also was like, was that you saying yes, or was that so in case they came back, you could say he died in the fire?
Yeah. So like with my borderline autism, I had that same thing of like, is that a yes? And then Simon's like, good answer, and I'm like, what was the answer?
Yeah,
I don't understand. But yes, it implies to me we're like destroying evidence, we're like getting rid of stuff. But then when they meet their people, they're like just blood or whatever. You should be like, he died. There was a car thing.
Well, they can't risk it because what if he does come back?
I know. At this point, though, whatever. But I like that Simon is this bastard and Dwight is, and he's like, let's be candid, let's get weird, you and me, let's talk, come on, lay it all on the table, and all. He's like trying to get him to say, he's like, listen, you've been on both sides of the iron, man. Like he's trying to prod him to be like, listen, I know you're on board with this fucking plan. All right, we're gonna fucking plug Negan. It's all over. Fuck this shit. He's fucking up. He's fucking up. Let's just fucking do this.
I kind of thought Dwight was gonna shoot Simon.
I thought so too.
And then would be him and I almost said Carl. It would be him and Rick versus Negan, but that didn't pan out the way I wanted it either. Nothing like, and that would solidify you as a good guy too.
Exactly.
But of course, can't do that.
Yeah, I would have. So like, all the ways this could have gone, it kind of, I guess, did go this way. But like they, they could have actually met up, right? And then you could have had the weird, double, quadruple Mexican standoff thing of like, wait, whose side are you on? Wait, whose side are you on? And then Simon's like, and now we can kill Rick. And Dwight's like, wait, no. And it's this weird thing and this whole thing. And they kind of touched on that, but not in that direct way. So it's
not in a way that would have been amazing.
Yeah.
But also, this is too early in the season to have something amazing happen. We got to make that happen in the last episode.
We have several more episodes. We have 4 more episodes to go. Yeah, exactly. No, but that would have been awesome, right? We're like now, because like, and again, that's kind of what happened. So like now Simon's the bad guy. And Dwight's like gonna like try to help Rick and them, but he's next to him, and Rick's doing whatever. This is so weird.
It's very strange.
The whole thing. So like zooming out farther, the whole thing began like we're gonna go fuck them up. We have a new plan, and this bothered me like so much. I went back and forth where I'm like, am I wrong to be bothered by this or whatever? I don't know. Why did it take like it's been years, right?
Since what?
Since like the zombie outbreak on this show.
Yeah, if you assume a season a year.
I can't assume that. But it's still been years, definitely, right?
I think you have to assume a season a year based on Carl's progression of
that's
age.
Just because that's how old he's getting in real life.
No, but they said Carl was 17, wasn't he, or 18?
I
think he was 17 when he died, and Carl was like 10 or something.
Does that not even make sense then? So, okay, let's put aside the timeline problems or something like that, because certain other things don't make sense for how long they've been traveling or where they are or whatever, but they've seen so much and there's been so much in the world, but this is the first time anyone's thought of like lacing a weapon with like zombie like blood.
I think it's mainly that why would you want to do that?
I guess.
Like, I don't think you're.
War like
I don't think you're ever
like
in a fight with someone and you're like, and when he gets away, he'll get infected. I think it's either kill him now or he could be killing me.
Sure.
So I don't think it's that no one thought of that. It's that that's kind of dumb. If my if my knife is coated in zombie blood and I accidentally cut myself, I'm a zombie now.
Oh, of course. I just feel like they were treating it like it was this like nuclear like holy shit thing, and I was like, well, yeah, obviously, if you wanted to like siege a place or do a thing or whatever, you would like that's how you would do it. We would like infect people with zombie coated things or whatever. But they had this whole montage of them like dunking their weapons and all that shit. And I was like, okay, good times.
I don't think there's any reason to do those type of things, especially the way they're doing it. I'm like, how often are you using a knife? Like a gun is the weapon.
Or like the arrows and stuff. Or
the arrows make sense, and like that, I guess always would make sense because you might not get a kill shot with the arrow. But at the same time, you also want to maybe one day hunt food, and now you can't.
You have special clean arrows.
I don't think I would ever trust a clean arrow.
I have no idea. It just it like the whole episode opens with these weird tight close-ups and weird music again. I think they have like a different production team since like the middle or like the beginning of something.
Since the budget keeps getting cut
or something. They're doing some experimental like things or whatever. Some in because there was like weird like digital zoom in close-ups almost. It was really jarring to me when I first turned it on. Like, what am I looking at here or something like that.
Speaking of odd weird things, how about this lady and her two like
Georgie.
twin idiots?
Yeah, this bothered me most of all, and I'm glad we're leaving it until almost the end. Well, okay. Last thing before we move to that, Negan, like the last shot is Negan in the car with Jadis.
Yeah,
she picked him up and all that stuff. She doesn't seem happy with him.
Not only is that dumb though, but that just feels so forced. Like, what are the odds?
Was she following him around?
Was she
in a car?
And like,
they drove
who
there.
was she following? Was she following Negan? Was she following Rick?
Had to have been Rick.
Like,
because you can't follow
did it not
Negan's
feel
convoy.
Ridiculous?
It feels super ridiculous. And I knew something was going to... Well, I didn't know, but I thought something might happen because in like the episode recap, Jadis was there. Jadis?
Yeah.
Queen of the Junkrats was there. So now we're going to get to do all that like immediately. I think that we both hoped that would happen later and not be like in the very next episode.
Her to drive him back to the compound and them to go, who's the Buster? And then he goes, the Buster took me home. And it just starts going right into Fast and the Furious.
And he says, you can have anything you want as long as it's a Corona. And they go down this hallway.
Yeah. And he takes Dwight's
that
drink.
That would be fucking crazy. Dwight's playing guitar. And they go through the whole, it's now a shot-for-shot remake of Fast and Furious.
That's all I want. It's the only thing that can really pull this show out of the fire.
Honestly, that would redeem them to a degree that I can't quantify, like in words.
So yeah, that's how it legitimately ends. Is they're at the car together and doing whatever.
There, yeah. But the Georgie stuff is so rich and shitty. Did you like that? Did you hate that? How'd you feel about that?
Well, I think it's dumb.
Yeah.
I think the odds of you coming across people willing to give you records / having records / not killing you is very rare.
Records or food. They just chose the records because they didn't have food.
Yeah.
No, like, okay, so like the only slightly redeeming thing was that Enid was like, this isn't real. This isn't how this works. You can't just do this. You'd be dead. And I was like, yeah. She's this one. She's got it. She understands. Because it's so, and she's even like, she's dressed like she's running for mayor, and she has like her two fucking nephews with like, who look like they're going snowboarding that weekend or whatever. It was so dumb.
Are those not two ladies?
I thought those were dudes.
I think they are ladies. I think it was like Midge and like Regina or something.
I thought they were young dudes.
I know you thought that.
I don't care. It was super just unbelievably dumb to me. This again has to be something from the comic.
A made-up word like glonk or moisture.
And then she turns like, guys, we're supposed to be smart. Or whatever. No, it was so, like, I don't know who that was for or why that was in there. It really took away
The only thing I want is that eventually she'll come back and her and Eugene get married.
Okay, that, again, you've just redeemed it. No, so, like, I had a, like...
I'm not a scientist, but I could be your husband.
But I promise to exchange knowledge with you.
I love, honor, and cherish your knowledge.
No, it was so dumb, and at the whole her whole presentation of it, right? The whole thing of like, this is the trade. We've made this deal before, and somehow not died. Like, that is not how this works. For a moment, I thought that Maggie was just gonna fucking shoot her.
I never thought they would shoot her. I did think they would like force them into the community or something.
Which they almost did.
It's such a ridiculous thing. There are 3 people underarmed. They have 2 pistols, it seems, between them. And I've got knowledge, but not using that knowledge in any way. You'd think that she would have, I don't know, a sundial that tells her what time to go get the chickens, or like some shit like in the middle of nowhere and have a compound of her own.
No,
but she doesn't.
I don't know what her angle is.
And now they have this book of knowledge that they can do things with that either will survive, and that'll be what the next season is, them building this new fucking facility at the kingdom or something.
Okay.
Or it'll get burned tragically in the next episode.
Let's take a moment here, though, right? Medieval farming techniques are pretty well documented.
They are.
I think any of the many libraries they've had set pieces in would have had books that would detail these things. So someone's curated it and put it together.
I think that's exactly what it is.
And maybe added to it or something like that. But that's still ridiculous.
I would wager,
totally easy to come upon knowledge.
I would wager that it is an adaptation of your medieval agricultural knowledges and such, and like if you take
this is good
the
for
carburetor
zombies.
From a 750, like the what you could use now, like pieces of aluminum sheet metal could be used to make it, and that's their thing.
Headlights make great things for this.
Yes.
I know. I had all those same thoughts too.
It's the anarchist cookbook for the zombie apocalypse.
I doubt that's what's going to be in this, though. I feel like that's not going to happen, right? I
don't know.
I can't even give them that much credit. I had all those same thoughts too, but I was so like enraged at like the thought of it though, because I have like a Boy Scout manual somewhere around here. I don't even have any books. I hate books or whatever, but I have like a fucking thing that explains like building shelters and building like traps for animals and all this different fucking shit. Like these books exist. This is like a normal thing. Making a like windmill or like a mill in general, like if that was a priority, this knowledge would not be hard to like come upon. That's her like secret hidden knowledge or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
So as much as I don't care about this, they have to elaborate on this, just to justify it, because otherwise it is totally ridiculous and like lame and horrible.
Well, it's ridiculous without any explanation. So I regardless.
Yeah.
Just think about, like, anytime you have a person, so they don't have a base, they drive around, right?
I guess.
Eventually you need air in your tire. Period. That just happens. Whether you have a leak or not, you need more air. There's no way of getting that. Then you're going to need a tire patch. You can only patch so many times. If it's a sidewall, you can't patch it at all. You're going to need more tires. They have very large custom tires in that van. You would not be able to replace them. Just think about anything. It's 7 years in. Do you have a battery? You need another battery. I know you know how to make a windmill. Can you find a battery? Do you know how to put it in? Like,
I like that
all
you start
these little
at
things.
like the very bottom of the van, just to imply how
just
many
work
problems
your way up.
there
Think about
are.
how often you need an oil change. Often enough. Could you change the oil in that van? In my car, I can't even take my car to all mechanics to get an oil change. I need to go to a good mechanic.
Do you think that they live in the van?
They have to live in the van.
I don't know.
They drive around looking for records.
I don't know what they do.
Nothing would make me happier, though, than if it's one of those, like, Rube Gold machines that they go back to, and it's like Pee-wee's Play... Rube Gold? Is that the guy's name?
Rube Goldberg.
Goldberg? And it's like a Pee-wee's Playhouse. She opens a door, and all of a sudden, like, a windmill is kicking in, and eggs get kicked out, and it starts doing things. Like, I'm an inventor.
I'm Harry Potter. No, this is not a direction that I'm into. Like, at Alexandria, they had a character who like built the walls and like cared about the solar panels, and he had a book, and he said, I write everything down. I know this because I rewatched the episode where the kid Gabe, I think not Malcolm, I don't know, the kid dies or whatever fuck. Everyone hates Chris guy dies. Yeah. I forget his name. Nathan.
Whatever his name was, I forget.
And so this whole sequence plays out. He writes everything down. He has a book. Alexandria had all these books or all these like things or like whatever.
Well, burn now.
Yes, but if this was like a like priority, if like, oh, we care about knowledge and we want to keep it in like one place and make sure it's safe or whatever, right? You would have compiled and recopied. You would have this. You'd have like kids like, well, you can't do hard labor yet, so just copy down this book or whatever. Game of Thrones has shit like that, right? You have like primitive means of like preserving important things, records, births, deaths, all these different things, and you would have copies of this ledger like in the kingdom and in the hilltop, and you would like, this would be part of your like community and all that stuff. This has never been addressed in the last 8 years of this fucking show.
That's why it's so important now.
No one gives a fuck about this stuff, and it's suddenly she's like about to cry. She's like, thank you for this fucking book. Oh my god.
I took it almost more that it's kind of like when you get a gift. You just got to receive it nicely. With her thing was that you're not a savage. You weren't here to to scam us or whatever. You are trying to help.
She thought it was a scam,
I am
yeah.
touched. I think that's what it is.
Okay,
You can have these records that are useless to us.
Yes.
Enjoy, and we
Right,
will
right.
take this. Okay, thank you. Come back when you can. Bring more food. Expect pickles. Whatever.
And the woman Georgie says something like, well, like think of it also as like trust or something like that, which is interesting, which is fine. But I don't know why they're not clamoring for the safety and like whatever of like one of these communities.
They're untouchable in their Astrovan.
The only justifiable like possible end to this is that she's a Time Lord and that van's a TARDIS. Like there's no possible
that's
way
not it.
you can walk around in that suit and like a blazer thing or whatever and be like, oh, this is fine. Like that
I never
makes no
encounter
sense.
trouble.
I just float above it. It's fine. Really bothered me. Really took away from the whole episode. But there was enough plot in like the rest of it that I was like, okay, we got some good. Like we are revolting. We're all Negan. We're going back to the fucking horrible thing now. But now Negan himself is displaced and going somewhere else, and Rick's wherever, and everything's fucked. And I'm like, okay, good. I want to see what happens with that.
No, I'm interested to see the next episode as well. Yeah, that's kind of the sum up of what happens in this episode. A lot of random, ridiculous things. Let us know in the comments below what bothered you the most. Don't die in a fire, and we'll see you next time.
Hello, internets. I just love watching JustDaggers. If you enjoyed this video as much as I have, click that subscribe button. Peace out, homies. I gotta go.